Okay, so this next one is Noah's Ark, and can I ask you some basic questions about this?
Sure, all you want.
Okay, so the idea, it's about 4,000 years ago. Is that what you believe?
That is what the Bible teaches. 4,400 years ago.
Okay,
Uh,
4,400 years ago, there was a worldwide flood, and all living creatures, land animals, everything that had the breath of life in their nostrils, were killed, except for 8 humans that were saved on a boat and the representative some species, right?
that's correct.
So one of the, I mean, here's some real obvious, just boom, right off the top of my head type of questions. Didn't anybody else have a boat?
I don't, maybe not that would float for a year. Could you live in your boat for a year?
Why not?
Okay. How much food are you going to bring around?
Well, that's the question for the ark. I mean, you got all these animals. I mean, that's another question. How do you feed all the animals and all that?
Well, farmers will drop off a bale of hay in the middle of the field and they go feed themselves. The Bible teaches everything was vegetarian before the flood came, and so they would just have piles of food on the ark or storages of closets full of food, and they could all vegetarian come by and fix their own lunch.
So, like alligators and snakes are all vegetarian?
Now, I didn't say they are; I said they were, according to the Bible. But going from a vegetarian alligator to a meat-eating alligator is a really small change compared to going from a rock to an alligator.
Okay, so you're saying all the animals on the ark were vegetarians.
That's what the Bible teaches.
Um, well, back to my first question about the boats. So you're thinking that a small boat, you're thinking that you can't have. I mean, food is not a problem because you can fish right
Okay.
there, right?
So you can get on a small boat and survive for a year. Ask anybody who's been shipwrecked and had to survive on a raft for 30 days how tough that is.
Hmm. Well, it's just strange to me. I mean, it seems like, yeah, I mean, it would be difficult to be in a boat for a year, but an ark seems like it's magnifying the problems, plus taking care of all the animals representative of the whole world on that boat, too.
Well, the Bible says it happened. I chose to believe that story. I see no scientific problems with it.
Now,
I do see problems with somebody living in a raft or a small boat for a year,
now what would
especially.
the animals eat once they get off the ark because everything is totally destroyed?
Well, no, it's the fact that he's in the ark for a year does not mean every square inch of the earth was covered for a year. Some sections of earth may have only been covered by water for a few weeks or months,
But
long
the
enough
Bi-
to drown everybody. But
okay, but
stuff starts
the
growing
Bible
again.
does say that even the tallest mountain was covered up like plus 15 feet, right?
Correct, 15 cubits, 22 feet roughly.
Okay, so you're saying the entire world was flooded, but that would destroy everything, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, I think well, a lot of plants, of course, can survive flooding. I mean, you have plants that thrive in flood areas, and they can certainly survive short periods of
Mm.
inundation.
Okay, so the water starts to go down, and then a few months later, stuff starts growing, and then while they're still on the boat, there's still stuff growing out there. Is what you're saying?
Well, there'd be stuff growing out there. Plus, log mats float around, and when they ask anybody in a flood-prone area, debris floats around. When it lands, it sprouts quickly because it's got such mineral-rich soil.
Mm.
I mean, it'll be up and sprouting in days. I don't know, but again, these problems. A couple things you need to consider here, Bernie. Number one, we are not asking the taxpayers to pay for our religion to be taught. You are asking the taxpayers to pay for your religion.
Yeah, I'm not
Number
really
two,
concerned about that. I'm just at this point, I'm just concerned about truth. I'm not really concerned about
oh,
those kind of
well, good.
effects.
Well, the truth is there are 300 different cultures around the world that have a legend about a global flood or a giant flood of some kind. Cultures that are not Christian. Why do so many cultures have this universal story? Are they all just making it up, or could it really be stemming from truth? I think that's one line of evidence that certainly would support the idea that there was one. Secondly, I think obviously you can't go back forever. You have to, population-wise, you have 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents. At some point, you reach where the pyramid has to reverse itself and go back. There had to be an original human couple. Are you going to start with 10 billion couples of apes all of a sudden having humans, or did this happen one time? Did one ape-like ancestor produce what became the humans, or did 10 million of them? How did it start? To me, the flood story is very simple. There were 8 people, 4 couples, 3 producing couples, get off the boat and produce all of us today. Certainly, the population growth curve would also be evidence for that. At the time of Christ, there's only 250 million people on the whole planet. That's the estimate. Any population encyclopedia will tell you. 2,000 years ago, there were about 250 million people. Today, there are 7.5 billion. 250 million. Today, there are 7.5 billion. Back in 1800, there was only 1 billion. In my seminar about the age of the Earth, I show the chart, which you can see from any number of textbooks, that says, hey, the population indicates it started growing about 4,500 years ago. I say, okay, I agree. I don't see a problem with that.
But what about, I'm still thinking about the animals though. What about like right now, in our modern times, we see the cheetah and the antelope. The cheetah's very fast, the antelope's very fast. And when did the cheetah start chasing the antelope? Was it after the flood? As soon as they got off the boat? Or?
Good question. Again, going from a plant-eating cheetah to a meat-eating cheetah is a really small change compared to going from a rock to a cheetah.
But there wouldn't be a lot of antelopes to chase or other prey to, all the animals would need time to reproduce, so there's not antelopes for the cheetah to even eat or any other prey. Everything's trying to reproduce and spread out.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how long it took for this to take place, for the vegetarian diet to change to meat eating. And of course, there is a very obvious natural selection. The faster antelope gets away, and the faster cheetah can catch the antelope. So certainly natural selection works just fine.
Well, the other thing I've always kind of wondered too is about all the dinosaurs on the boat. There's this one chart that has like Triassic dinosaurs, Plesiosaurus. I can't even read all these. Jurassic period has Allosaurus. Early Cretaceous has Iguanodon. Then late Cretaceous has some famous ones that people have heard about, like T-Rex, Triceratops, Velociraptor. What happened to all these dinosaurs? Didn't they get on the ark?
Well, yeah, the biblical view is very simple. God told Noah to take 2 of every kind, not species, but kind of animal on the ark. Noah, being 600 years old, would be smart enough to know you don't have to bring big ones. Matter of fact, we would want to bring babies of everything, as long as they're able to be on their own. Baby elephants, baby giraffes. Let's say there are 25 or 30 basic kinds of dinosaurs. I know there's 800 names for them, but there are probably 25 or 30 basic kinds. Mm-hmm. So he has 25 or 30 pairs of dinosaurs, baby juveniles that may be the size of a dog. And even then, most dinosaurs, the average size of a dinosaur is smaller than a dog. There's a bunch of little tiny ones, but a couple of great big ones, Brachiosaur, Patasaur, etc. But as a general rule, they weren't all that big. And I taught biology for years, and most people would quickly admit reptiles never stop growing. So in the pre-flood world, reptiles would get to be 70 feet long, that today will only get to be 5 or 6 or 8 feet long. What would a Komodo dragon look like if he could live 900 years and get 80 feet long? Or any number of dinosaur-looking lizards that live today. There's a 3-horned chameleon that would look exactly like a triceratops if you gave it enough time. Mm-hmm. So the Christian view is Noah did take dinosaurs on the ark. After the flood, they either died out from climate change because they couldn't live long enough to reach reproductive age because something changed, or man killed them, calling them dragons. This is probably the most likely for many of them. And there are many thousands of stories of people killing dragons.
But that seems like, it seems like there are so many different kinds of dinosaurs and they all went extinct. It seems like, I thought God's plan was to save a remnant of the animals. It's like, why go through all that work saving them on the ark if they were just going to go extinct? It seems like it was a failure on God's part then to save the animals.
Well, I think you'd have a hard time proving the extinction of anything. But the dodo bird, for example, went extinct about 300 years ago. That's estimated based upon the plants that grow on some islands in the Indian Ocean that only dodo bird could eat and partially digest, and that would fertilize the seed. So it would make the seed capable of growing. Fertilize is the wrong word, but get the seed started. So the assumption is that dodo birds are probably extinct, and I think they probably are.
So you think all these major kinds of dinosaurs then survived the flood, and then later on they got extinct by human hunting or climate change or whatever?
Correct. That would be my position.
So,
but again, I'm not asking for my position to be taught with tax dollars in the school, and they are asking for theirs. So I think the burden of proof's on them, not me.
Okay. All right. You want to summarize anything there, like a few seconds, so we can move on?
Okay, yeah, the Christian position is very simple. Dinosaurs always lived with man. Noah took them on the ark. They've died off by climate change or by hunting, or there may be a few stragglers still alive. You know, Loch Ness Monster kind of stuff. I don't know, but there's certainly been an awful lot of sightings that seem to be something like that, like a dinosaur. Okay?
Mm-hmm.